Broadcasting live from Houston, from the space city to the world. You are watching Now Media Television.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Michael Rager, your business guide and host here on Biz Talk TV. I got my good friend Roland Parker from Empress Computers. Roland, how are you today?
Michael, I'm doing fantastic. Great to be back on the show.
Oh man, we're going to talk about something interesting today. The World Wide Web versus the dark web versus the internet. What is the difference between this?
So let's start off with, people sometimes talk about the web and the internet is the same thing, but basically the internet is kind of like your infrastructure. And then the web is the program that you use to access the internet. So the World Wide Web, that's kind of broken down into the surface web, the deep web, and then the dark web. And sometimes people think deep web, dark web, and it sounds scary. So let's kind of break that down. The surface web is really just websites that are indexed. So that means Google or your Bing engine can actually find those things, and it's got a hypertext to link you to that website. So they're indexed so you can find them. The deep web is non-indexed. So that would be things like your emails, your bank accounts, your Netflix account, anything that is behind a password. So if you have to log into an account, that's called the deep web. And you wouldn't want Google to be searching the stuff that's on that account. And obviously it's behind a password, so Google's not going to be able to see it. So surface web is everything that you can search. Deep web are the things that are legitimate, but you can't search for them. Now it comes to the dark web, and that can be sometimes a scary thing. But it's not necessarily all scary. It just means that in order to access it, you've got to use a program like Tor, and you've got to use a VPN like NordVPN to be able to get in there. Now, there are some legitimate reasons that people would want things on the dark web. So journalists or WikiLeaks or something like that, where they're putting information out that they don't want you to know who's on there. They're going to have that on the dark web. But of course, a lot of the bad guys are out there. And that's when you can buy drugs and, sex trade, whatever the case is. It's all going to be on the dark web because it's untraceable. You use untraceable currency.
So why do we even come up with something like that? I mean, how did it end up? Was it intentional or did it just happen?
It was intentional, and it was designed so that people can access stuff without being found. Now, if you're, say, for example, a journalist in a country and you don't want that information out there, you want to be able to use things like the deep web, dark web to search for it. But because you're untraceable and using untraceable currency, what's going to happen? All the bad guys are going to hang out there as well. So what does that mean for you as a business owner? Well, that's when people are buying and selling your credentials, social security numbers, addresses, email, passwords, all of that stuff is available for sale. Now, how does it end up on the dark web? Well, it could be something that you made a mistake and you inadvertently gave the bad guys access. But it could be nothing to do with you. Say, for example, when they had one of the big box stores gets hacked, or they've had a recent hack by one of the major companies where you are legitimately buying. I think the most recent one was the Nissan hack, where people's information got inadvertently leaked and it ended up on the dark web. So it could be a legitimate business that you were doing business with. They get hacked and your information ends up on the dark web.
So how do we protect our business from having our stuff go from where we think it's safe to ending up on the dark web, where we don't want it?
Yep. And that's kind of the tricky thing is, okay, it's out there. What do you do about it? Well, the first thing you need to know is don't hide in the dark and think, well, I don't want to go to the dark web. It's scary. And I'm not gonna think about it. But the biggest thing is how quickly you react. If your information is on the dark web, what you do need to do is make sure, okay, what has been compromised? The dark web reports that we produce will actually show you what type of credentials were exposed. Was it just your password, or did they get your social security number? So that's when it's very important to say, okay, this is a password. I need to go ahead and change my passwords. I need to make sure I've got two-factor authentication in. And you may want to put in some type of monitoring if things like your social security numbers and driver's license were exposed out there, because people might be trying to get your identity.
Man, this is scary stuff. And I know as a business owner, I don't want my stuff out there for sure. So how does somebody get a hold of you, and what kind of things would you recommend to quickly protect us from the dark web?
So the first thing is get a hold of us at impresscomputers.tech. We can sit down with you and maybe put in a dark web monitoring service. It's pretty inexpensive. It'll cover your entire company, because it's the larger you get, the more vulnerabilities you have, because it could take just one of your employees, their credentials to be out there, and that's going to expose you. So put that dark web monitoring in place, and please, start doing some security checks. If you use like Google or any one of your email services, go in there, go to the security center and enable two-factor authentication, and then set up to see, okay, who is accessing this account. It's very easy to do. If you go to like Google and your security center, it'll actually show you who logged in. So that would give you an indication, hey, wait a minute, I'm not sitting in Virginia, I'm here in Texas. Something's going on. And then you can proactively fix things. So put in your two-factor authentication, monitor who's had access to your account. And, if you just do that dark web monitoring, put in the two-factor authentication, and if anything, put in multi-factor authentication where you use biometrics.
All right, man. So this is awesome, Roland. That's the things we got to do as business owners. We got to make sure we're out there to make money. We're actually to make profit, but we got to protect it.
Yeah, don't give the money to the bad guys.
Yeah, don't give it to the bad guys. All right, man. Roland, thanks a lot. I'm Michael Rager, your business guy.